streaming. Thank you everyone for coming in. Because I know everybody's waiting to come into Zoom. All right. Hi everyone, I'm gonna get us going. I'm gonna first do a round of introductions. If someone else is coming in, it's Heidi. Come on in, Heidi. We're just starting up. Sorry. Don't be sorry, you're all good. So Emily, I'm gonna do a round of introductions. I'm Emily Flynn. I'm the Director of Health and Wellness for the City of Kingston. I use she, her pronouns. I'm gonna go around to the room first, and then I'll come to the Zoom folks. So Malia, you're settled. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Malia Dumont, Rondout resident. I'm in my second term on the commission, I believe. Yes. So,
If you don't mind, go around.
Sure. I'm Katrina Williams. I use she, her, they, them pronouns, and I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Ulster County.
Captain Eric Muse. I'm the Corps Officer and Administrator for the Salvation Army of Ulster and Northwest Dutchess County, and I just joined last month.
Ulster and Northwest Dutchess.
Yes. Poughkeepsie has everything else. We have just over the bridge, the first few towns.
Well, hi, I'm Heidi Kirchner. I use pronouns she and her and Aya. I am the CEO and President of the YMCA of Ulster County. And I don't know.
Oh, yeah, don't worry, you don't have to know. You're where you're supposed to be.
Awesome.
You're good.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go
Thanks.
to the screen next. Troy Ellen, you're in my top left. Want to introduce yourself, and then Kristen, Marcia.
Thank you, Emily. I'm Troy Ellen Dixon. My pronouns are she, her, Aya. I am currently chair of the Live Well Kingston Commission and a community member.
Hi, I am Kristen Kessler. My pronouns are she, her. I am a project manager in the Department of Health and Wellness for the City of Kingston.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marcia Sebro. I'm a project manager with the Health and Wellness Department at the City of Kingston.
Thank you, and Vicky, and then Sarah, and then that'll be everybody.
Hi, I'm Vicky Gore. I'm Vice President of Business Services for Gateway Hudson Valley, and I was just recently appointed on the Live Well Commission. Yes, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Vicky.
Hi, I am Sarah Brainerd. I use she, her pronouns. I am Kingston Land Trust board member, former chair, Green Lane Committee advocate, enthusiast, and head up Travel Well subgroup for Live Well Kingston.
All right. Thank you, everybody. So going into our agenda, would anyone there like me to share my screen? I think I'm somewhat familiar with most of your setups. Does anyone need me to share it? Or can you all see the agenda on your own? Okay, cool. All right, then that just gives me one less thing to try to manage. So thank you, Sarah. I see you're already in the meeting notes documents. I appreciate that so much, as you know. First on the agenda was the approval of the minutes. I'm gonna have us go through that, our usual motions. Later on the agenda, we're going to talk about consent agenda format. Troy Ellen recommended that. But first, if you don't mind, since we haven't adopted it yet, let's just go through the motions of accepting the previous minutes. We have quorum because we've got 4 folks in
I
person.
think I wasn't at each one of these.
I don't think it matters.
Oh.
No, if I may,
You may.
you don't need to have been at the meetings to be able to vote on the minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that clears that up.
That always struggled with for me too, because if you weren't there, you might never be able to get enough people that weren't
Right,
there in
yeah.
person, so yeah. So I'm gonna go through this stuff, then we can talk about the consent agenda a little bit. So if someone would, first of all, let me ask if there's any edits to any of the meeting notes. Anybody? No? If not, I can hear a motion to accept the November meeting notes. Sure. Thank you, Katrina. I'll let Sarah do her thing, because I started to do it, and that's gonna get confusing. Yes, I can hear a second motion.
Second.
Yay, Malia! And then all in favor.
Aye.
People on Zoom, you can give a thumbs up that are commissioners, so Vicky, Troy Ellen, thank you. All right, great. December meeting notes, same thing, any edits? Hearing none, I can hear a motion to accept the December meeting notes.
Sure.
Thank you. I can hear a second to accept the December meeting notes.
I'll second that one too.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, people on the screen, can you give me a thumbs up? Yay, all right. All in
Who was
favor?
first and second? I didn't hear that. Who was first?
Katrina and Malia.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Same both times. Beautiful. Okay, great. So let's jump into administrative matters. And let's go to the consent agenda, because I feel like it's sort of what we're talking about a little bit here. And I also want to clarify a little bit about the open meeting law. So Troy Ellen noticed that at the common council meeting where the alder people did not publish their address. So we dug a little bit deeper into it and I asked for clarification from there. My understanding is if we have a quorum here, which we do right now, for example, and commissioners at home can count towards voting because we have a quorum in person. That somehow triggers it.
That's helpful.
You're
That's-
welcome.
yeah.
So,
So we don't have to have a full quorum here, as long as there's a quorum with the participation of the people here and on our virtual meeting, we're okay.
well, okay, so if two of you had called in, I don't think it would work.
Okay.
So I have to have
Four?
have to have half in person. Then that means the people at home can count. So,
Well, it's
So-
not that, Emily, it's not that we're counting towards the quorum, but we can vote.
Correct.
yes, thank you for that. Yep. Yeah. So I think that feeds in a little bit to the consent agenda because we want to try to make these things go a little bit smoother. And also, I just want to clarify, we are an advisory committee. We don't make policy. We can suggest policy to the common council. So in some ways, I feel that we host these meetings to review our reports for the content of those reports, not necessarily to have a quorum and move policy along. That is our goal, is to do some systems and policy change. But I guess I bring that up to say, even if we don't have a quorum, I'm probably still gonna host these meetings. And we're still gonna talk about these things. I just want to clarify that a little bit.
So Ellen, what is a quorum? Is it half of our commission? Is it a quarter of our commission? Because our commission has like 10 people on it.
Right, so a quorum is half of appointed commissioners. So right now, I believe that we have 10, so I think you're right, it should be 5.
So we don't have a quorum.
Yes, we do not have a quorum.
Wait. Do we
Yeah.
actually have 10 appointed commissioners?
Yeah, we have one open seat right now. Because we have right now, I'm gonna read them all. Katrina, Vicky, Eric, Sarah, Troy Ellen, Malia, open, Heidi, Susie is still appointed, Lori, Susanna. So we are missing Lori, Susanna, Susie. Yeah, right now.
Okay,
Yeah. So thank you for that clarification, Heidi. I appreciate that because I kept thinking that we still had 9 and that we only needed 4. So I think we should keep going forward. I'm gonna hold on to those motions in case we can keep them. They're just meeting notes. It's not a too big deal. Any questions around that? Can you keep discussing? I thought I saw someone trying to talk. All right, so let's discuss a consent agenda. I looked it up a little bit. Troy Ellen, you started this though. Would you like to speak to it first, or I have some notes that I can share?
well, the consent agenda is just designed to streamline meetings, so things that are like minutes, things like that are non-controversial can just be put into a consent agenda. We all read the minutes before the meeting. We make any, via email or however, if we think there need to be changes to the minutes, what have you, but the minutes would be listed on the consent agenda. And then all we have to do is say, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which then everything that's in that consent agenda gets approved rather than going through each one. And feel free to add, Emily.
And I found some great language about how to do that in process. So in a website I found, it said, at the meeting, the board chair should first ask members if they wish to move any consent agenda items to the regular agenda for further discussion. So I like that idea. So I'll probably organize the agenda, that the top will be the consent agenda. It'll be sort of separated. And then if something comes up, you're like, actually, we really need to discuss this thing that's there. We'll move it down and have it be full. And I'll ask for that at the top of every meeting. Then ideally, board members should ask for such a move before the meeting, ideally. Oh, someone's here in the Zoom, sorry. Before the meeting, so it would be placed on the regular agenda, but I would state that at the beginning in case it wasn't. After any items have been moved, the consent agenda is set, the board chair recites the items on the consent agenda and moves to adopt it. So I would read off what's on it as a reminder, and then we would do one vote. That's my proposed process. Sarah, you got your hand up.
I do. Yeah, so in other boards I'm on, it's bigger, there's lots of things to talk about. There's lots of committees, there's lots of subgroups. Like we have sometimes the subcommittees will submit, kind of their ongoings as a consent agenda from the last month or since the last time the whole group met. And they kind of use that as like a semi-consent agenda, like per subgroup or per committee, so that you don't have to talk about everything that the committee's been up to. So you get a nice handout of what that committee's been up to, and then they can pull out items to put into the full agenda. So that's another way to kind of get through our, if there's things that we want to update everyone on, instead of us all just, crazily taking notes on this great event that's coming up, we can all kind of have a document that's submitted before the meeting from each subgroup. It doesn't even have to be anything big, just a bulleted list. That's worked in the past for me for consent agendas.
Thank you for that. Trail, you got your hand up?
Yes, and one other point, when I was on the Board of Education in Connecticut, for example, we would even put things that had been discussed in previous meetings in excruciating detail, but then they had been agreed to. For example, a budget expenditure could go into the consent agenda because it had been discussed and agreed upon, and now we didn't need to go through it again at the top of the meeting. So there is, I think the thing that I like about it is it just gets the meeting, the first part of the meeting over, and then you can really get into the things that need to be discussed that have not yet gotten to the point where they can be put in the consent agenda.
Since no one's jumping up to ask a question, I'm going to just pause and welcome in Lynn and Susanna. Lynn, we did a round of introductions. I'm not going to have us go through it again, but would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you so much. Lynn Nichols, I'm with WMC Health and Health Alliance. I've been up in Kingston working there for 13 years in marketing, communications, and I oversee some of the community engagement. So I'm happy just to sit in as a placeholder now. We have someone that's looking to submit their application and join the board formally. And we're just looking to partner and support all the good work that you're doing however we can. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us so much tonight, Lynn. And Susanna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, and I apologize for not having my video on. I'm not settled yet. It's been a little bit of a hectic afternoon. I'm Susanna Callahan from the Institute for Family Health. And Lynn, I have to get your contact information because I need to, ever since Freddie left, I don't know who to contact at Health Alliance about community sort of engagement related things. And something just came up this morning at a meeting I was on. So I said, I need to find out who to talk to at Health Alliance. So I think you're the one.
Yes, we'll connect.
Yeah.
All right, thanks y'all. So going back to our agenda, any questions or clarifications about the consent agenda? I saw a bunch of head nods, but any other questions coming up for anybody? I was sort of hoping we'd have a quorum to sort of formally vote. I sort of feel like if we're changing our process, we should sort of have a formal vote on that. That's how I feel. I don't know how anybody else feels. I see some head nods. So maybe it's good if we can take time to think about that. And if we have a quorum next month, we'll formally adopt it or not. Does everyone feel all right with that? Sure. All right, cool. Thank you all for that. Thanks for bringing that up as an option, Toriel. I didn't know that that existed, so I really appreciate you bringing it up. So some other administrative matters that are due in the January month. We need to vote for officers and we need to set the meeting dates for the year. Those are two things that are sort of in our bylaws that we need to do on the January meeting. I'm gonna review the officers and then we can discuss that. So I have in the agenda, if you're all able to see it, a box with the 4 different officer roles. And I'm just gonna sort of go through them a little bit. So the chair, Troy Ellen can speak to any other duties that I forget, but the chair, I often reach out to the chair to sign letters of support, for example. I've reached out to Troy Ellen for some support around what should be on the agenda or how to handle some things. Troy Ellen's sort of been my go-to person for Live Well in that way. But the way we have it formatted right now is that I host the meetings. I'm happy to continue doing that as long as I'm a staff person here. I will put in a note, I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. The commission right now is facilitated through my department, the Department of Health and Wellness. My department is not in the city's code. A future mayor could eliminate my department or position. If that were to happen, this commission would still go on. And then if at that point there wasn't staff support, that chairperson may need to lead it. But sort of as long as I'm here, it makes sense for me to do it. I don't mind. That's the chair. I'll keep going through all the positions, and then we can ask some questions or clarifications. The vice chair carries that out if the chair is not able to. At this point, I don't know that we've really asked too much of it, vice chair. Oh, you're clapping, Trail, and I thought it was a hand up. So there's not too much that a vice chair needs to do. Maybe we'll think of something this year. The secretary is sort of our note taker, and Sarah has been doing that for us this last year. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's really helpful. It's really hard for me to do notes. I can't do notes while facilitating. We do record these, and sometimes I do go back and check up on what we had decided, but being able to capture them in the moment is incredibly efficient. Because I sometimes will go back to look at the video a couple weeks later, I'm like, I don't remember what we decided. So that's the secretary. That's basically it. Treasurer is an interesting one. So currently, any things that come up as a part of Live Well Kingston, the funding runs through my department. And again, if my department were to ever go away, this commission could have a treasurer and could ask the Common Council for funding to do programming or to do whatever you wanted. But as of right now, because it runs through my department, we don't really have too much of a need of a treasurer. It is in our bylaws and it was in the resolution, so we sort of have to fill the position, but there's no action at this time. At one time, I think Jerry was the treasurer and he did help us sort of do some budget planning. So that could be an option that we might ask that person to sort of help us review or brainstorm stuff. But as of right now, there hasn't been any role. Any questions about the different positions for the commission? So our goal here is to fill them. I don't know if anybody who are in those current positions would like to stay in them, or what usually happens is I can hear a nomination for someone to go to fill those positions. And then ideally we would vote, but we won't vote tonight, but why don't we sort of informally decide, and next month we'll formally accept what we've decided at this meeting, if that's all right. I'd like to try to go forward with an idea of what we'll do.
Makes sense.
Yeah. See a thumbs up from Troy Ellen.
Does that mean you want to stay as the chair of the committee, the commission?
Well, the thumbs up was actually agreeing with what Emily was saying, is that we should have a sense of where we want to be, and then we'll all make an effort to be in person in February to vote on it. And yes, I'm happy to continue to be the chair unless anybody, I think this is my last, oh, thank you, Malia and Heidi. I think this is my last year because this is the second year of my second term.
I wouldn't say last year. I would say you'd have to take a year off between your next term.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, that's fine, Emily.
Yeah.
We can have that discussion in the fall.
Yeah.
The event, yes. Unless there's someone who has a burning desire to be chair. Emily does most of the work and I support her as opposed to her supporting the chair. So I'm happy to do it.
Great. All right. Yeah, I see some thumbs up. Thank you, everybody. I'm not hearing anybody else thinking. So Vice Chair Heidi, are you the Vice Chair? I think you are.
Am I?
You
I
might
am
be.
so sorry, I did not know
And
that.
that, oh, well, again,
Okay.
so that sort of shows you
Yeah.
how important the Vice Chair is. Would anyone like to step up to sort of fill that role in name for the next year?
Do you want to continue to do it?
I had no idea I was doing it.
Is it wrong?
I don't know. I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Was I absent when it was voted? Neither here nor there. You know, I feel awful that I have not supported in
If,
this capacity.
if Troy Ellen ever went on vacation, she's never has,
Okay.
I suspect I could probably call you to sign a letter of support.
Okay.
Do you mind?
No, not at all. Not at all.
That'd be awesome. Does anyone else mind if Heidi fulfills that role?
Okay.
Cool. All right. Secretary, anybody feel like supporting, that's the, I don't know, that's sort of the hard one.
Yeah, that's the hard one.
Anyone feel like taking that role up again? Sarah's done a lovely job. I want to thank her so much for that.
I'm willing to continue if nobody else wants it.
Yay! Thank you, Sarah. All
No
right.
problem. I have to say though, it's easier to do from home and I like to be there in person. Today I would have been late if I tried to get there in person. I would have been a couple minutes late. It's a little easier to do when I'm actually home virtual, but that being said, I will have laptop handy for in-person meetings and I will be willing to do it again.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that so much. All right, final one is treasurer. Anyone willing to take on that role at this time?
That's so not my skill set, that to even be that in name only is just,
Yeah.
it's too laughable to me.
Yeah.
That
Do you want to
shouldn't
switch
happen.
with me then? Would you prefer?
Sure, I could
I
do
mean,
that if no one
It
wants
sounds to
be
me like
treasurer.
it's the same amount of work, to be honest with you. But I don't mind being the treasurer. That would
Okay.
make me feel more comfortable being the vice chair.
That's fine.
All right, I love that. Thank you so much, both of you. I really appreciate it. Any other questions? Any other
So
considerations?
who, sorry, what was decided?
That Heidi is going to be treasurer and Katrina will be vice chair.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Heidi and Katrina.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, my work is done for the year. Next is set the meeting dates. So I have put the third Wednesdays on our calendar already. I've submitted that, but this is a time where we could reconsider our meeting time. We have a few new members. If there was a time that would be better for everyone to meet, I suggest we be consistent. That's really easy. Would anyone like to bring up a discussion about meeting times, or I could sort of see a thumbs up if this time is working for everybody and we can continue this way. See a thumbs up from Susanna.
Susanna's
Works for me.
back.
Works for Eric, all right.
Works for me. It's in my.
Sarah says maybe. I like the sideways
Yes,
thumb.
nice sideways. Yeah, the 4 o'clock's tight if I want to get there in person, especially if I'm in New Paltz in the office. But I've been trying to make sure I'm at home on Wednesday. So for the most part, it works.
Okay,
The concern for me is even though it's only once a month, it's the 4 o'clock start because as you know, Emily, I have a meeting that goes from 2:30 to 4. So I would probably be late getting to City Hall.
do we want
Okay,
to,
so 4:30 or 4:15, would that be more desirable? I mean, New Paltz, you couldn't get here in 15 minutes, so that'd be really hard. unless you have superpowers.
You never know. I mean, I've clocked it at 18 minutes before, I think. For me, 4:15 would work. I just, it's just like leaving. I'm typically in, Rosendale, so I'm usually I can make 4, but 4:15 would be great. I can definitely be on time. I would have been there today if it was 4:15.
Around 4:15 to give the opportunities for the folks who, I don't know if that works for you, Troy Ellen, or 4:30.
Yeah, 4:15 would work because in order
Okay.
to get there at 4 o'clock, I'd have to leave the meeting at 3:30. To get there at 4:15, I can leave the meeting closer to 4 o'clock.
Okay. Maybe that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
15.
We're in a world of back-to-back Zoom meetings, so I know for me, I had to leave a meeting early, that's from 3 to 4 to get here. I mean, I'm right around the corner, but still, it would help.
All right, so it sort of feels like we're coming on consensus of 4:15, which isn't that big of a change, but that's lovely. That's not too bad, I think, for staff to do 15 minutes later, so that's great. Any last thoughts on that? That felt pretty easy to come to that conclusion.
I don't have any thoughts, but Emily, to that point, perhaps we should also consider, because we do have staff members, including you, Emily, but Marcia and Kristen, that perhaps if we have agenda items that need to be addressed by Kristen and or Marcia, that we would put them higher up in the agenda so that they would not have to stay until the tail end of the meeting.
Right. Our consent agenda is going to take care of all of that.
Mhm.
So I agree. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's a great suggestion. Thank you, Tron.
I mean, I know it doesn't help you, Emily, but at least Kristen and Marcia can kind of skid out the door.
Especially Kristen's got her newborn, so.
That's right.
Things to do, yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. I think, I just wanted to add that I have this Google Doc that I'm gonna put in the chat. That is sort of, I put it in the, okay, so this is a document that shows all of our meeting times, and I'll change the meeting time now to 4:15, but it's a document where, I don't know if I can share my screen quickly so that people here can see it. I just consider this a handy tool, so I keep the links to all the notes for the year in it, and any reports that we do, I'll collect in this one Google Doc. So I've done this for the last couple of years, and in fact, on the bottom is the links to them, so if you ever really wanted to dig deep, you could go see the meeting notes for all the other years. I bring this up because on the city's website, where we have to list all of our meetings, I've now linked to just this document, not the individual meetings agenda. It's a little bit of a link to a link, but it saves me a little bit of time. If y'all don't mind, but I just sort of feel like this is a nice little tool, so I just wanted to share that with y'all. And I will send that out at some point as part of either a meeting reminder or meeting notes, like recap. So that was that quick thing.
Emily.
Yeah.
I saw on for July and August, you had canceled with a question mark. Is that something you want us to figure out in June, or can we just figure that out so that people can kind of get on with their lives?
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, so this last year, we canceled for the 2 summer months. Seems like that worked out well for everybody. If you look at that document, I should have kept sharing it. All of the way that sort of the year breaks out now with 6 focus teams. If January and February, we look at our action plan, that means that Heal Well would be in March, Eat Well in April, Grow Well in May, Travel Well in June, 2 months off, Age Well in September, Play Well in October. November has been sort of the super focus team meeting. That's where we have an excerpt from each focus team. And then in years past, pre-COVID, I was hoping to bring it back. We had a healthy potluck snack, so we would bring veggies in. It's a little bit of a less formal agenda, and it's more of a way to just sort of see each other, maybe close up a little bit of business. So it does fit nicely if we wanted to take those 2 months off, that each of our focus teams has a slot. There's a little bit of time built in for planning, actually, in January and February. So we could plan to take those 2 months off, and it's kind of nice, then I can take those off the calendar, no one expects to come. But we could discuss that as we get closer, or we could plan for it now. Any thoughts on that?
I might propose that, I mean, it's very hard to get everyone together anyway during the summer. I think that was discovered. So I might just propose that we plan on that so that anything that we're trying to, cover through the commission, we know that those months, we can't plan on them. So I might propose that we accept the calendar without those 2 months in it.
I agree.
Vicky, did you want to say something you were talking to?
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
All right, well, that makes my life a little bit easier. Thank you, everyone, for doing that pre-planning. That's awesome.
And then just as a housekeeping issue, we are still having the correct number of meetings that we need to have as a commission.
In the bylaws?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Yes.
forget how many times we actually have to meet, but it absolutely fulfills the requirement for the number of times.
Yes, it does.
Yep. All right, so that brings me to the last 2 sections of the agenda. I wanted to review the draft action plan as sort of the meat of our meeting today, and then we'll do a quick round of announcements and communications if anybody has any announcements of events or anything that they'd like to bring to everyone's attention. So I'm going to share the action plan on the Zoom screen so that we can all see it. And we reviewed this last year. We've put in a few accomplishments in there. And my goal today is to look this over, capture if there's anything that we've missed that we would like to record, and then set it as a stage so that next month we can do some brainstorming and update a new action plan for the next year. This feels like a good moment to remind everyone the role of this commission, and I probably have said it a few times, but I'm gonna say it again, that I see Live Well is the umbrella for the focus teams, and the focus teams is where the actionable work can happen. We could do actionable work here, but really it's a way to organize, since health is so broad, it's a way to organize it. And the role of this commission really has sort of studied itself in the hearing of those reports and brainstorming how to make the connections between them. And I also see this commission as the place where we could create that policy or recommendations for the common council if we wanted to go in that direction. So wanted to just study ourselves in that. So there's
any of the other commissions have that direct line to the common council, or are they supposed to bring it to the Live Well Commission and then it's our responsibility to bring it to the common council?
Do you mean like an action, like a focus team?
Right, if there's something that they see the need to communicate to the common council, do they have that direct connection to the council? Or is that the responsibility of the Live Well Commission to take that and then bring it to the common council?
I don't know that it's been spelled out that way, but that makes sense to me. The focus teams, like I think of Grow Well, they're very much thinking about the community gardens. I don't think that they're thinking about the process for change, for policy necessarily. And it would make sense to me that this commission would be that administrator, would help schedule that. Just so you all know, for the community, you can present policy to an older person, that's, I think, part of their job.
Right.
So I don't want to say that anyone is limited in their ability to suggest policy, but it just sort of makes sense to me that this commission would help support that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Let's follow up by saying, for example, Julie and Ellie came and talked to us about an e-bike policy.
Right.
They came to the commission, not the travel well focus team, to review that policy, which is now, I think, maybe one of these nights going in front of the common council or being sent to maybe laws and rules for review. So that's a piece of policy that this commission reviewed and is being
supported.
considered. when we
Okay.
supported it, yes,
Okay.
yeah. Any questions just sort of about centering on the kind of the goals of and the structure of Live Well, the focus teams there before we dive into our action plan? I can't see the Zoom members quite as much, so you might have to unmute and shout me down a little bit. But nobody, I don't hear anybody. All right, so I'm gonna dive into this action plan. Feel free to jump in with questions. So let's see, how many goals did we have? We had about 4 goals. I really tried to simplify our action plans. At one time, our action plans had like everything that we could possibly want to accomplish. It's overwhelming. So we really tried to structure it down into 4 goals. And that first one is the oversee of the focus teams, which I think I was just sort of alluding to, which is really the reviewing of the focus teams. And you'll see in the last box of the action plan, I've attempted to try to link to each focus team's action plan. It's not perfect.
It's well organized.
But I'm trying here.
Yeah.
So as you'll see, like Age Well's working on making a new action plan. So, but we sort of we're really starting to fulfill the structure of way of making goals and then tracking what we accomplish as a way to sort of feed in and be documented. Any questions on that? No one's yelling me down? We can always come back. So the second one was very broad. Support the health of our community.
Yeah.
This was where we talked a little bit about veteran resources. And I have to say that sort of fell away. That didn't work out so well. So we can review that in our goal setting for next year. Heal Well did discuss it a little bit. There wasn't too much action. The last time we discussed an action step, I was going to pull together some resources, ask for Malia's review. Because it wasn't sort of in my other day-to-day work, it fell off. And I see that Sarah's got her hand up. Sarah, do you want to chime in? Do you have a question?
Well, I was just gonna know, I think this is where we picked the theme for the year. So in planning for next year, that's what we did, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
And thank you for that clarification. And let's think about that for next month if we want to do a theme again. Heal Well has been doing themes. Last year they did mental health. And this year it looks like we're sort of thinking about health and mental health, especially as it relates to the outdoors. So there's some specific projects there, but it's sort of a connection to nature theme this year, or connection to outdoor spaces. So I'm not saying that quite right, but I think you understand that Heal Well sort of picking up some themes to think about the work that they decide to do. We could do that here too.
Does it make sense to, I mean, not everyone, it looks like most have their, well, action plans. Does it make sense to try to pick a theme that will connect, you know, a bunch of these different commissions together? Or
I'm
groups?
only on Heal Well, but I recall that was part of the conversation, that we
Right.
thought that was a theme that might resonate with all of the focus groups, but of course, I'm only speaking for Heal Well, so I don't know if that to be true.
I think that's something to think about. I don't know that we'll have the answer right now, but that's an interesting idea.
Or at least if, and for the veterans, and if we didn't, you know, I'm not saying if we didn't follow through on what our goal was last year, you know, to reconsider for this year, but, you know, just in the limited capacity that I've dealt with the veterans, you know, I can see all of these boxes being checked off with what they're doing. And you might ask with Play Well, but I do know they've approached us to utilize some of our facilities so their families can come and have a good time.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it falls, you know, into that group, and they've talked about, you know, their own gardens and everything else. So that, you know, for that, it makes total sense because I can see where it connects all of these different groups together.
Yeah, you know, right now I feel like I'm sort of just reporting on what we did or didn't do, but I love that, and we can bring that up and we can see if we want to have that be the thing again. So let me continue.
Yeah,
And then
please.
we'll either hold on to that, Heidi, or we can bring it up next time. So let me keep going through. Underneath that, supporting our community communications. So we really wanted to try to have connections between the focus team. And in November, we did that sort of super focus team report meeting. And then in the previous year, we had identified that we wanted to have more of a connection with the other cities' commissions. We don't have a process for that yet, so that's something we could still consider if we'd like. Any questions about those accomplishments before I move on?
Was there about another 6 commissions with the city? Or
Oh.
way under, was there a lot more? I was
There's
looking
more.
that up on the website the
Oh,
other day.
gosh, the mayor said it today at the staff meeting.
Is there a lot more than that? So
There's
maybe
a
the
lot.
website isn't up to date. I thought the
Um,
website had maybe 7 or 8, and maybe I just totally missed the second page of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's more than 7, 8, but I can't say how many.
Okay,
at this point.
okay.
Yeah,
All right,
it's on the City of Kingston website. I
Yeah,
can pull it up
okay.
at some point here.
yeah,
Well,
okay.
can you refresh our memory on how we went from this idea of creating a proposal for a pilot program to deciding that the Grow Well stipend is the one? I just, maybe that was one of the meetings I was missing.
Are you talking about the goal number 3?
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you want me to, what's your question then?
Just how we narrowed it in on that one Grow Well project as the one that we wanted to, or I don't know, is it possible that we'll also go forward with others under this idea?
You may not have been here, but that was the work of the gardens that someone was actually having to do.
Oh, I see,
So it
okay,
was
so it's something that already existed and
It
you're trying
was
to bring it.
actual work that they had to have someone do, so they felt that it
I
was
see,
some,
okay.
I think Marcia can explain it, but it made really good sense of the.
Okay, oh,
process.
that sounds familiar.
Although we did talk about stipends for other people to join the commissions, which I don't know, if there, I think the mayor was gonna be contacted, and I don't know if he even responded, I don't know.
If you don't mind, let me just take a step back. So we're on goal 3, increase community representation and project decision-making in the Live Well Kingston Commission. And we talked a little bit about a stipend pilot program for Live Well Kingston participants. So at one time, it was not for commissioners, just to clarify.
Right.
We've talked about that, and I can talk more about that in a moment. But for this goal, it was just for maybe focus team chairs, participants in there. And where we are with that is that we did some planning on that. We have an outline to do it for Grow Well. But a grant opportunity came up. So we partnered with the YMCA Farm Project and just applied for a grant that would pay for some stipends for a garden steward specifically.
Cool.
We're
Was that AARP?
No,
Because I was gonna talk
just
to you
came
about
out.
that just came
That
out.
just came out.
We never get it, and I was like, somebody else take it,
Yeah.
get something, because we never get it.
We did actually get an AARP grant for our chess tables, if you recall.
So they have
Well,
community gardens on that, and I said it might be great for that, especially if it was a better program as well.
Fabulous, Heidi. The grant was a New York State Ads and Market
Yes.
grant that
Yeah.
Casey just
Yeah.
spent a lot of time on.
Yeah.
So it written in within, so our hope is that that would be our pilot program, that we would
Great.
figure out a method to run through the bureaucratic system of government to be able to pay for people that aren't in a union, for example.
Perfect.
So there's a lot of intricacies with that. To go back towards commissioners, we've discussed this, there's no other commission, of course, where anyone gets paid to be on them. It's extremely complicated. So my goal is to try this pilot program, then bring that to some other focus teams, and then maybe we grow from there. So start small, see if we can get it to work, and then build it.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Triana, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I think that makes sense going forward of doing it small and then trying to expand it. I'm not a big fan of the argument that, well, no other commission does it, so therefore no commission can do it. However, I do understand that. Just so people understand, I think on any commission, if you really want to have membership that is reflective of the population of your community, we must understand that there are some of us who have the privilege of being able to serve as volunteers, but there are others who may be interested but because they need to work, they can't consider serving as volunteers. So even a small stipend would value their input and their participation in the civic process.
Yeah, or even like, you know, this, most stipends, when, you know, they're not overwhelming, but even if the person wasn't working at that time but needed childcare, that would cover for someone to have, you know, childcare for that time period. So, because we need to hear those voices as well, so.
Correct, and you bring up a good point. There are many social justice organizations in the community, not since COVID, but prior to COVID. That's how they would invite people in, and they would provide food and childcare. You don't have to worry about feeding, you know, about dinner time, and your
Right.
children are being taken care of while you're participating in this, you know, organizational practice.
So something I think worthwhile to grow into.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you, Charlie, that just because they don't, that's not a reason not to.
Yeah.
I've heard the other reasons why, and I'm sort of blanking on them now, but it'll be a multiple discussion project to figure out how to have the commissioners be paid. So to be continued.
There may be
We'll
ways
discuss.
around it,
Yeah,
so, yeah,
and we'll keep trying to figure that out.
right.
For sure.
And I'm happy that Live Well Kingston will be taking the lead on this, because that's part of what we're all about, is folks in Kingston living well.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions about that, about sort of our pilot program? And it sounds like, I don't want to jump ahead, but we may consider to have that again next year. We may, because I think we'll be doing work on it no matter what, so we might as well kind of bring it on. All right, our fourth goal for the commission is to advise the mayor and common council on pertinent individual and public health and social determinants of health related issues. So this was also part of our brainstorming last year. We talked a little bit about, so the way I sort of, by elevator speech about Live Well includes the phrase, the social determinants of health. So we talked a little bit about what that means. I think I have a document in our files that I can bring up at some point about what the social determinants are. We sort of made sure that we all were sort of on the same page with that. We didn't do too much in the way of communicating that with the common council, but that's something we still could do. So our accomplishment there was that we sort of, this group had consensus about what the social determinants of health.
Is 4A supposed to say social determinants instead of social departments?
Probably.
Good catch.
Oh, yeah, no, that's definitely, that's accurate.
We went the whole year without noticing.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that we didn't see that. But maybe, I've been using these little tools like Grammarly and these, so it's possible.
Oh,
to
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
edited at some point.
Yeah.
But thank you for that.
But Emily, a lot of times we don't see things because we see what we want to see, what not
Yeah.
necessarily is there.
It's the old brain working for us, yeah.
True.
Yep.
So those were sort of the four goals that we tried to take on this last year. Maybe my call to action right now is, other than the focus teams, we've tried to capture their goals, but is there anything that anyone sees that the commission did that we would like to capture at this time as a part of this action plan? I think I probably would know, I think I would be aware of it, but maybe I'm not human, so it's very possible things I've forgotten, but anything else we want to try to document for 2022?
So are you talking about turning this from a plan into some kind of report almost, like capturing?
Yeah, so,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Just so you're to report out to the mayor in essence.
true, yeah, you know, I have not delivered these to the mayor, but my thought was, my goal is to officially put these action plans up on our website. So currently they're not. It seems like a simple way to sort of document, like for grants applications, we could say, you could see all of our accomplishments
yeah,
on this website. So I feel like we're sort of finally getting to a place here in the routine where after this meeting, we might PDF this and put it on the website and be done with the 2022. And then next month, I'm gonna literally make a copy of this. I'm gonna probably, what I usually do is draft it up for you all to give you a starting point, and then we start the process again. We don't do an annual report. This
Is it basically?
this, for the commission, this
Right.
is sort of it. So you all know, the Department of Health and Wellness does have an annual report, if you're interested, and I can, there's a little bit of this gray area in identities of which bucket I'm
Right.
doing work for. I work for the city of Kingston, I'm the Department of Health and Wellness, I do work for Livewell Kingston, and now we also have the Creating Healthy Schools and Communities project.
Right.
So forgive me a little bit, but the Department of Health and Wellness does have our annual
Right.
report on the city's webpage, and many of the things that we do in our focus teams are reported there as well.
You know, we're an advisory committee, so it's kind of gray to me, but as an advisory committee, I mean, to report out the discussions and, you know, the plans at this juncture, you know, to me seems adequate. You know, unless there was something really that, you know, was spearheaded. But
I see Troy Allen's hands up, but I think what's sort of sparking is that, you know, when we decide if we're sort of done with this, we should share this with the mayor so that he sees what
Right.
we've done.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Troy Allen, you got your hand up?
The only thing we might want to consider memorializing is, I know during the course of the year, oftentimes we sign on to letters or we create letters
this is true.
on specific topics. And I think that maybe, I don't remember whether, because I know we've done letters, but I don't remember if we actually did letters in 2022, or I'm thinking of 4 letters over the last 4 years. But I do think if you can go into the file, Emily, and just, you know, the letters that have been sent by Livewell Kingston, so that there's an understanding that we're not just in this one little box that we're doing work for, but we also want to help influence quality of life improvements throughout.
Thank you for that, Troy Allen. And at one point, we used to have the whole commission vote on every letter of support. We've now, I think, come to the conclusion that, well, if anyone's asked for a letter of support for Livewell Kingston, you just bring it to me. I usually, because usually there's a time crunch, usually you need it in like a week. And then I just ask the chair if they agree with me that this is a Livewell Kingston thing to support. And then Troy Allen signs it because she's the chair. So it's been a pretty streamlined process. And I think we've done 2 or 3 this year, and I'll collect them and add them to this.
Okay.
To document that.
And just to clarify, Emily drops my signature into the left. But it is my signature.
Troy Allen.
Well, because many of them are usually sent electronically.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
thank you, Katrina.
Thank you, Katrina, Vice Chair.
Hope I don't forget.
Ms.
Yeah.
So the other question I have, and you referred to it earlier in the meeting, and it might be helpful for new people and folks who've been on and are clearly understanding it. We talk about the commission, it's not part of the city code, which to me would understand, then that's why it's probably not funded by the city of Kingston, or how does that whole thing work? Because you say, well, if it goes away,
Yeah,
then,
and I don't,
you know.
I don't say that to scare you.
No, I'm
You
not.
who might go away.
Yeah,
The whole
so
department could
No.
go away.
Yeah, let me clarify. So so few departments are written in the city's, I'm not even using the right term, but it's basically the law of the city. of
Right,
Kingston.
okay.
So it's DPW, I think the city clerk, the police department, the fire department, they'd have to like change the big, I forget the language right now, I'm sorry, but it would be a really big deal to change that so that those departments would never be eliminated. My department, communications, Department of Housing, the Director of Housing, what else? There's a few other ones that Mayor Noble has created in his administration.
Right,
My department is fully grant funded. That's part of this discussion as well.
right,
I don't cost taxpayers, my department
Right.
doesn't cost taxpayers any money. A future administration might, if we lost that funding, they might decide that they might not want to fund any of those departments. So that's what, I bring it up just so you know that this commission, I see, should live beyond
right,
any of that.
right.
And it should, so, but this commission is sort of part of the E-code. A resolution has been adopted by the Common Council for this council. So it would take a lot for it to go away.
But if it were part of the code, there would be the requirement that the funding would have to be made available to
I don't,
support it.
I'm not a
No.
policy wonk. I don't necessarily know that it's quite that linked though, but Troy, did you want to chime in?
I think you're referring to the city charter.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you, Troy,
It's the city charter, and as with many cities, usually the city charter only has like, first responders and
So with the essentials for running the
for
very
running
core
the
aspects of a
city.
city.
Yes.
Okay,
And then subsequent, whether it's a city manager, board of selectmen, mayor, whatever the thing is,
Okay.
they can then put other commissions in play to support, but they never write them into the charter because once
Okay.
something's written into the charter, you can't get it out.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And consequently, it would probably have to be funded,
Yes,
I would believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
yes, it would have to be funded by the city, by the tax-paying base, et cetera.
And I get that, okay.
Yeah.
That clarified it for me, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I only bring it up just so you sort of understand the structure
Yeah.
of it. I just think it's good
Right.
information to share.
Right.
And because also sometimes people, I sort of want people to know that my department, a time may come where I might need commissioners to speak up for funding for my department.
correct.
We are not there now.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
But you never know. And so that was just, in the back of my head, I needed to hear that. Okay, all right.
Okay, it looks like, Marcia jumped off too. So any questions about sort of our action plan report? I don't see any hands up on Zoom.
So I did make, just a couple of process comments, so,
Yeah.
where to start? So I think of a plan as something that's projecting into the future, like this is what we intend to do, and some sort of broad ideas about how you're gonna get there. Once you start filling in, like, here are things we've actually done,
Yeah.
then it's no longer a plan, it's sort of a review of what you've done, and so maybe this is a semantic issue, but I think I would personally be confused if I clicked on a link for the 2022 action plan and saw this stuff about what the status is. And so maybe we just put some explanatory language in there about, columns A, B, and C were the original plan. And then as we went throughout the year, we filled in with what we did and status and notes and next steps. So this is the year-end review of
Yeah,
actions
I get it,
taken in
yeah.
support of the plan,
Right.
just to clarify. So that's one thing. And then second, because we have so many people here, just thinking back on the process of how we got to where this is, so if you could scroll down just a little bit, so you see, for example, we talked about veterans. So when we looked at goal 2, support the health of our community, it's so broad, and you can't, you have to prioritize somehow. Of course, you want to support the health of the whole community, but I'm just thinking back for those who weren't there, like, how did we decide we wanted to zero in on that? It doesn't mean to the exclusion of everything else. It was trying to identify what are some parts of our community that haven't received as much attention perhaps, and like, we as a commission, like, part of our role is to try to raise those groups up. And so it sounds like the veteran thing didn't work out as well as we wanted to. Maybe we need to focus on, for our 2023 action plan, we need to think about, is there a different community we want to focus on a little bit more? But if anyone who hadn't seen this before was wondering how we got there, that's generally what we were trying to do, is take that general goal and then say, okay, this is a very broad goal. what piece of it do we want to focus on within the city of Kingston for the next year? Not to the exclusion of other stuff, but because this has been neglected or has a real need that we need to address.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you for the name about that. Yeah, if we publish it, I will name it a little bit more.
Okay.
It felt at one point it was just an action plan, and it morphed. And then one of the commissioners was like, oh, why don't you just collect the accomplishments?
Yeah, no, it's great to have it all in one
Yeah,
place. I think it's great.
So,
It's
yeah.
just to clarify, so someone
Yes.
isn't confused when they
Yeah.
click on it, like, is this an action plan or is this, what it is?
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, because we're in 2023 and someone looks back and you're like, okay, what
Yeah.
happened, you know, so.
Yeah, so maybe when we publish it, it's.
You know, work done or work completed or whatever.
Yeah.
2022, so, cool.
Right? I don't see any hands up on Zoom. Any other thoughts on this? Yeah, so I guess my call to action is that I will add some letters of support on here. I will maybe add the link in a recap email, and if you guys want to find any other grammar or spelling edits, feel free to make them, and then I'll change the name and sort of publish it on our website. So that's sort of it. All right, I'm going to stop sharing so we can see all of our Zoom friends. All right, thanks everyone. So next up on our agenda, I think, was announcements and communications. Nobody's waving me down. It's getting dark in here. I'm gonna turn the light on in a minute. But so now usually we go around and we invite anyone from any organizations, if they have any events going on they'd like us to be aware of, any new programs. It's sort of a moment to let people in attendance get the word out about any of their health programs. So anybody want to go first, or I can call on people? Usually Susanna's got something to say, usually Heidi's got something.
Sure, I'll say something. So if that's okay, if nobody else wants to go first. I guess two things. I mentioned one of them at the Heal Well meeting last week. Sorry, I've been quiet. I'm not feeling so well today. Is that the Institute, well, actually all federally qualified health centers in the country received grant funding from HRSA, federal agency, the Health Resources Services Administration, who funds us as federally qualified health centers, received funding, 6-month funding to promote COVID vaccines throughout the rest of the winter. And I think, you know, the big question for many of us is like, why now? It's coming so late in the winter. But my suspicion, although I haven't heard this, is because of changes in funding, you know, COVID related funding, in part because of the change in Congress too. And I know that some stuff is being pulled away, like, you know, pharmacies not being reimbursed any longer for vaccinating uninsured people. They're not getting their administrative fee, so they're less likely inclined to promote the vaccine to uninsured people. And you know, not getting any more like testing kits and masks that we used to get, things like that. So we got a chunk of money for our entire service area, which includes parts of New York City, Harlem, the Bronx, and parts of Lower Manhattan. And I've been working fast and furiously with a team to develop partnerships or reach out to partners for me mostly in Ulster County to pay our partners to help promote COVID vaccines, because they are the partners, they know their constituents very well. So I've been in touch with UIDN, People's Place, and the Ellenville Rural Health Network, working with Neil Smaller from the Woodstock Pharmacy to help do some community-based vaccine sessions at different locations. And I'm trying to reach some of the faith-based organizations in the county as well. And again, we're going to pay people. We're going to give them money to help do this work. And so that's kind of, stay tuned. And the other chunk of money that we're going to be spending is on a big media campaign. We've been also in conversation with the Department of Health too, but a big media campaign. So over the next 6 months, so you'll be hearing more about this. And hopefully if there are ways that the commission can help in promoting this, I would love to hear any ideas, but certainly we'll be reaching out and asking Emily and your team to be posting some of the things that we'll be producing. So that is.
Excuse me, Susanna, have you reached out to Catholic Charities?
Not yet, because, and I will, I guess I could, I'm a little nervous. We don't have any extra staff to do all this work.
Okay.
It's only a 6-month grant. So I'm trying to be very, I just haven't had time. I'm trying to be very careful about the numbers of partners I reach out to.
I understand, but
Yeah.
People's Place always gets support.
Okay.
And Catholic Charities does a lot of work in the community. They do the warming center and everything like that.
They may even have staff, Susanna, to be honest with you, they may have staff who could do the vaccinations.
Exactly. I mean, it's just that the default, they might. The default always tends to be People's Place, so People's Place gets everything.
I agree, Troy Allen.
Catholic Charities is one of KEFC's partners, and I'm not saying that they're like in the wilderness, but they should be supported.
Okay.
As well.
Who at Catholic Charities should I reach out to?
It would be the director is Layla Santana. I can send you her
Please
email.
do. Yeah. And because Catholic Charities has several locations too.
Well, they have locations in, is it Orange?
They're all over.
They're all over,
Right.
yeah.
Here,
But
St. Peter's Church.
they're in Kingston on Adams Street.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That would be great. If you can think of it, and actually, Heidi, I thought about you being at the Y too, but I'm just trying to catch my breath here with
It's okay.
with all this, and I have to be very strategic about how many people we can work with and all of that. But this is great.
And I understand completely, but as I said, and this is nothing against People's Place.
Yeah.
People's Place always is the go-to, and as a result, they're like the elephant in the room kind of thing.
Thank you. Okay, that's very good to know. I appreciate that. Any other, as you think about this, please email me. Okay, so that was one thing, and the second thing, and Katrina, did she leave?
She did.
Okay. I wasn't broadcasting this because we have limited space, but the Institute's also coordinating a series of classes in the Mayan language of Quechua, which is the language spoken by many of the Guatemalans in the county. And we did this last year for a group of physicians and Healthy Families home visiting staff. And we're resurrecting this, but in a much more focused way. And those start next Monday. And there are a couple of spots available still. Some UIDN staff are going to attend, and some of our residents and other staff. And I think Katrina, she wrote to me because she heard about it and she's going to post it. So just 4 classes to, and I think actually, Lynn, is that your name, Lynn? Yeah, some people from I emailed one of the nurses in labor and delivery at Health Alliance too, because a lot of the women go there. So
That's happening. Dr. St. John is going to reach out and connect with you about that, and she's bilingual.
Bilingual is Spanish though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And this is Quechua. This is a different language.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a Honduras group that also connected with us for her.
Okay, great.
That too.
Great. And then at some point, I'm also working with UIDN. We finalized a presentation on the Quechua speaking people in the county, and we're gonna take the presentation on the road. And if any, but we're gonna pilot it with a few groups first within UIDN and some people at the Institute. And then I'll let people know if we thought maybe health and human service agencies in the county that serve this population could benefit from learning a little bit more about sort of who they are, some cultural beliefs, health beliefs, and some kind of recommendations for providers as well, in terms of being welcoming and sensitive. And
put me on that list. I'd love to have the opportunity to do that presentation at the Y to our members
Okay.
or to the public as well.
Great. Okay. We need to practice with safe audiences first. And we have at least one young man, maybe two, because we were trying to find bilingual, trilingual people from Guatemala. It's kind of hard to help deliver the presentation with us. So I've been talking to the guy who's going to be teaching us Kekchi too, and see if he can help out. So those are my presents. Those are my.
With this, if you're willing to share his name, we've been doing some immersion classes that are wildly popular for and they're paid classes with. We have waiting lists, and Kachi was also on that list of an immersion type class, which is kind of cool. A neat way of learning a language.
Well, I'm a language person. I speak a couple languages. It's really hard, and it's so vastly different from any Romance language and kind of languages that people tend to speak. Sorry?
It's like the Indian language.
Well, it's Mayan. It's a language. It's not a
Exactly.
dialect. Everything is completely different. The sounds are different. So one of the things that we learned from our classes last year is that people were trying to learn way too much, and you just can't, especially if you don't use it. So, my goal is to really just do basic things like, basic greetings, welcoming, in terms of healthcare, being able to say things like, are you in pain? Where? Some basic body parts, just to have some very basic communication. And even that, to remember those things is really hard.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, how many people do you talk to who said, oh, I took, high school Spanish for 3 years, and as soon as it was over, I didn't remember a single thing.
Yeah.
Because that's, it's like you have to keep using it or you lose it.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
My goal would be just to know enough so that, when you have people that are coming into your facility or whatever, to greet someone in their own language is very welcoming, and it makes them feel like they belong. And so, the more people that can learn just the fundamentals,
that's what our goal is for these.
That people feel welcome in our community.
Yeah. I'm done.
Thank you for all that, Susanna. Yeah. Heidi, do you have anything?
Well, we've got, lots of programs running programs for kids. Lots of different programs coming up. We have our Walk with Ease coming up for seniors. You do not have to be a member of the Y. You can sign up for that. The other thing that I would just really like to stress, it gets dark early. It doesn't get light till, later, 7 o'clock-ish or so. There have been some recent accidents in the city, and I can only stress that it's, be visible when you're out, be healthy, but be visible. If anyone needs the vest, the bright yellow vest, we have them at the Y. Just come and pick them up, or if you need an ankle strap with a reflector tape on it. If you know of anyone that does a lot of walking or biking, or is out walking their dog, it really is quite helpful to be seen. And that seems, to be a common factor now with a lot of the terrible incidents that have happened is people just aren't being seen. So if you need a vest, just stop by the Y and pick one up so we don't have any more incidents.
Thank you for that, Heidi. Eric, anything in your words that you want to announce, or?
So we wrapped up our Red Kettle campaign, and we did just over 75% of our goal. So a little bit under, but that's not affecting things as of right now financially. We are partnering with Catholic Charities. They're doing a Narcan training during our soup kitchen once a week. So that way folks in the community, who might need that a little bit more, can come in and get that. We're looking in February to change, still do a grab and go soup kitchen, but kind of change the layout. Right now it's kind of more like we let 3 people in at a time, and the first come, first serve, and they get the better things, it seems. So then we have fighting for people to get in line. So we want to have ways to eliminate any of that, and so that way people can shop more than they are just picking through what it feels like right now. So we're trying to expand that a little bit. We're working with the Center for Community Education, which is right across the street from us, and their Little Learners program is using our backyard as their green space. So we have a whole bunch of sports balls and a little 3-year-old like picnic bench out there, and they only have about 3 or 4 kids in their class right now, but they come over and they have their own key to the gate, and they come in and use our backyard on nice days for a green space. So we're looking forward to continuing that with them, and hopefully maybe some more programs with them in the following year.
That's a lovely partnership.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there was a discussion, there was an MLK Day of Service at the Y on Saturday.
Yes.
And there was a discussion that perhaps there still is need for coats and stuff, and we were talking about, you know, going out into the community, and we talked about CCE or Salvation Army collaborating on something like that.
Well, fantastic, because
No.
today I just got an email from our divisional headquarters.
Yeah,
We applied for coats back in December for those families we were giving food and Christmas presents to.
mhm.
We will just got an email that those coats are in.
Oh, okay.
So it might be something we could talk about
So
to work together.
Yeah, so, okay.
But it would just be for the families who previously signed up. I went ahead and just bumped up everyone's sizes that they gave me in October. So
Right.
that way, whenever the coats came in, they'd be hopefully fitting a little bit more.
Were you able to fill all the need?
So everyone who signed up, yes, but we could also do additional signups.
Okay,
On top of that, we could have those who signed up and those who might not have.
right, okay.
Yes.
And Rashida's no longer with the Y, I don't know how many people know that. No, she's working with a Christian organization that is doing housing at the state level.
Cool.
So it's really awesome. However, she's been replaced by Emanuela de Sangas Sophia. So I don't know how many she's awesome, you know, and you know, has done a lot in the community, left the community, worked for Harlem Children's Zone for a bit, but is back, and so she's taking her place. Very much so is connected, and you know, we'll be doing a lot of the outreach that Rashida did, and then probably reaching into some different areas as well. So
Thanks for that update.
yeah, and she knows she's on the Play Well Commission. She sent me an email about that, asking me what
Right.
this is all about.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Malia, you got anything you want to add?
Just 2 things for us to think about, maybe to think about how to incorporate them into our 2023 action plan. And I don't know if these are both the right thing for Live Well Kingston, but I'm sure everyone's aware of the news that Salt Hotel terminated their partnership with Hug and Brickyards.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if this is an opportunity for us to try to end that controversy about the access to Empire State Trail through there. Which,
Wow.
you know, can we weigh in on that somehow now that Salt Hotels is out of the picture? I
Were
don't
they the
know.
issue?
Say again?
Were they the issue?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know who was creating this issue, but I know a lot of bikers in the community and hikers were really concerned about access to that trail, and this seems like something that we could look into it maybe, and
I've got some notes from previous Green Line meetings that the Land Trust had with the city of Kingston, and just on where our troubles were. I don't necessarily know that it was the hotel. It's Hutton Brickyard as a whole was owning that space. So I'll go dig up some of my notes from those internal meetings, just knowing that we'll maybe keep them internal. But yeah, I mean, that's been an issue that's been out there, and I hear it all the time still. Hey, Sarah, what are the hours? Hey, Sarah, I can't get through. Hey, Sarah, the gate is closed. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Sarah. So I think this is definitely something that Travel Well should consider and talk about.
okay.
That's news to me, so thank you.
Yeah, they're in a moment of transition, so that creates some kind of opportunity for us to weigh
It's
in.
a good time to just.
And then the other thing that I hope we'll have an opportunity to weigh in on is the redevelopment of this that intersection, is it right here or there, I guess?
Are you talking about the green spaces or the hospital?
No, the green space, like the new intersection where the right by the line.
Yeah.
Right.
So, it seems like it's proceeding well. I don't know what the other plans are to maybe put pollinator garden and part of
They,
it, or
they can
bench
present- they
spaces?
can
or-
present, but they,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it all planned out?
Not-
Or yeah.
Kristen, do you want to give an update? A quick one.
Yeah, of course. So we have received, so that is out of our department. So we're working with Con Landscape. We've received the conceptual designs from them. And so we're in the process of receiving some feedback from city staff on feasibility of those plans. Once we feel good about one conceptual plan, the idea is that we will have a public meeting. And so at that point, there will be an opportunity for public input. So we'll be doing promotion of that. We definitely encourage everyone to attend. I don't know, Emily, we didn't talk about having a separate presentation for the Live Well Kingston Commission. If you want, we can discuss that. I think cons generally.
The letter of support.
If we all
some
agree
kind of-
with what
Yeah, or some kind of
decision is,
comments,
yeah.
like that, yeah, a weigh-in process
Yeah.
for this commission seems like to be a good thing.
Yeah, I think that all sounds great. Maybe you can wait until you see the conceptual design. I mean,
they're great.
I mean, Emily and I have been leading that and providing, like, consolidating the feedback and giving it to Con. So hopefully it will be something that this commission, feels comfortable with. But yeah, I think we can do that. So that will be hopefully coming up in, we're speaking with Con on Friday to include support, feedback from city staff. And the idea was that it would be brought to the public, in early February. We haven't set a date yet. That's all TBD, but that's kind of the timeline for it right now. Hopefully with a final design by the end of April. And there will be a couple of steps for, like, it's an iterative process of receiving feedback and getting an updated design and so forth.
Troy, got your hand up?
Yeah, if memory serves, Con also hosted community input, sort of listening sessions to get, information from members of the community, which is how they operate usually. So I'm sure that's informing a lot of the work that they're putting forth. But I'm glad to hear that it's being done and that it's going back and forth that way.
Did you finish your question about that?
I think I did, yeah, that's great.
And the community input had people of all ages, all backgrounds.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
they did a really good job of getting their input.
Because they partnered with the YMCA Farm Project to use.
Yeah.
And.
Yes, they did. The youth farm crew,
Yeah, the
Bark,
kids,
everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
One of
It
the
was pretty nifty. Maybe Live Well Kingston could focus on getting, sidewalks in the Wilbur.
There, every time I ride
that
down
would
that
be-
street, Lua, I think of you. I think of you. I was like, wouldn't it be nice if she could walk on this street?
We would like it, for the land trust would love that, because we have that new property there. And I have to park in a really weird space and like walk on this little thin thing to get over to it. So yeah, sidewalks, please. Sidewalks, please.
Maybe I can take this moment to tell you all, so I am also the staff liaison for the Complete Streets Advisory Council. And they, in 2023, are starting a sidewalk task force, which is meeting every other month. So if anyone wants to tune in on that work, I can either be that liaison or you can join the meetings. It's also on the city's website. So Complete Streets Advisory Council is quite active right now. There's a lot of work.
I think the biggest issue with sidewalks, particularly running along, is because it's a state road. It's 213. That's the biggest issue.
Yeah, last time I think the city engineer went out, they said it wasn't possible. So that was our last discussion, but that was like a year ago.
Right.
Why don't I keep going? Sarah, do you have anything in your world you want to announce?
No, our world's been kind of quiet. From the Kingston Land Trust perspective, still trying to decide. They're putting we're still a little behind on budget for 2023, which is informed by programming, which is where we would having the discussion of how much effort will the land trust put into, say, the Green Line. I don't think as much as we used to. So with that, I think Travel Well will take on some of that load, and me as chairing that little subgroup will just do that, because I'll just let you know I'm skipping the board meeting tonight so I can focus on some other things. So that's where my attention's shifting, as I promised, and it will be there. So I think I would like to try to get a travel well subgroup meeting starting up again here in February and on. And we've already put dates on the calendar for the land trust to make sure that they don't schedule, other greening group or opposing events. On the second Sunday of the month will be our weekend wonders, and we're going to throw in some cleanup days as well. So calendar coming soon, and we'll have more for you next month on that. And just follow the Kingston Green Line Facebook, and you'll see all the events coming.
Thank you, Sarah.
I have to drop, so if anybody wants to pick up the minutes, I have got to go.
Thank you, Sarah. Troy Ellen, and then Lynn, if you have any announcements. So Troy Ellen, do you have anything you want to share?
No, I do not.
Thank you. Lynn, welcome. Is there anything from your world you'd like to let us know? Of course, there's a new hospital. Do you want to tell us about that?
So the new hospital is open on Mary's Avenue campus. If you haven't visited and would like to, please just let me know. We were able to successfully and safely transport all of the patients from Broadway over to the new Mary's Ave. And it was pretty seamless. We also transported, I thought was pretty cool, 2 newborns and 2 moms. So they have to go in separate ambulances. So I have a really great picture of a dad standing between the 2 observing, because the mom was very anxious to have this process done, but it all worked well. And then we had another mom come in, and she was, we have a first baby born in the hospital the same day that we were doing the moves. So that was good. Staff is getting acclimated. There's always little hiccups when you move into a new property, and we're going through them and making sure they're cleaned up. But I've got a really great complimentary letter today, which I love, from the community. Someone brought their husband in and just had wonderful things to say. The cath lab is up and running, and it has been since day 1. So that cardiac cath is very important. And we're doing a big spread for February for heart health, and encouraging everybody to know your markers, go get tested. There's a lot of proactive things that you can do. And we have a special program for that. It's called Chip Dip. So we're going to be launching that in the Kingston market in February. So someone, can go and find out what their risk is for heart issues down the road. We have at the Broadway campus, we have 5 services that are there right now, and they are outpatient services. And then we're renovating those spaces that were traditional patient rooms so they can be suites for some of our other services. So it'll be a mix of behavioral health, primary care. We have a full working kitchen there. So that's going to be looked at to see how we can partner with someone that might want to use that. Does it become something that we're using, or is it something that's another food kitchen in the area? So there's a lot of excitement, and that planning process for Broadway is underway now, and look forward to sharing more when I know more. And in the meantime, I entertain the film industry there too, because they always look for hospital space. Hospitals and movies are kind of a big deal. And I've always helped the film industry, and I do it. It's very challenging because of space and what they need, and mostly for HIPAA and the patient's confidentiality. It's a very hard juggle. So now I have some open space, and we have a scout going through for Dirty Little Liars their next filming is going to take place in July. So there's a lot happening, and I look forward to getting to know all of you a little bit more as I try to help transition the new person into hopefully a role with you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And if you have a person that'll be kind of coordinating that kitchen work, the Eat Well focus team has talked about community kitchens quite a bit. So I would love to be connected to any decisions that are made about that kitchen, or try to offer some support in brainstorming that space. So.
Very nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. And if I may, because I know I'm not on your emails, my email is Lynn, LYNN.Nichols. It's NICHOLS @HAHV.org. So that's Health Alliance Hudson Valley.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Wait, sorry, Lynn, is that with an E or no E, did you say?
No E, LYNN.Nichols.
No.
Thanks.
All right, did everyone get a chance? Anything else coming up? We're running a little bit, only 4 minutes after, that's not bad. Any last thoughts or updates? Not seeing anybody unmuting. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. Next month, I'll send out my meeting reminder and we'll talk about the action plan again. Other than that, I'll say good night. Anything else?
Yes, we don't have to adjourn.
Thank you, Troy. You keep us on task.
All right, then, bye.
Yeah, okay. I'm not gonna wait then. No, I can't help myself. I'm gonna wait. Okay, bye, everybody. Great to see you.
See
Bye,
you all
everyone.
next month
Yep, take care, everyone.
in person. Bye-bye.
Ooh.